Zeb was the winner of our Man Award at last year's WISE Awards for his work as a community integration leader for over 15 years. Now, I'll hand the microphone over to you, Zeb.
Good afternoon to all of our listeners. Thank you very, very much for giving up your time this afternoon, and I want to thank WISE for hosting me. If we could go to the first slide, I'll quickly run through the agenda for everyone. So I'll start with a few introductions about myself, and then I want to talk about Mosaic, which is part of the Prince's Trust, talk about what I do with them, and I'd like to share with you what made me want to become an ally, and what are my experiences, and what have I gained personally from this, and as a result of bringing what I do into the workplace, what has my organization gained from this, and I'll end with a call to action. Thank you. Next slide, please. So my name is Zeb Farooq, and I studied mathematics at university, and I work in strategy and development for Jacobs Critical Mission Solutions International business, where we provide engineering, consultancy and safety services to the civil and defense nuclear sectors. I've been with the organization and its predecessor organizations for over 11 years, starting life as a thermal hydraulics consultant, then a project manager, and now as a bid manager. I was born, raised, and still live in Manchester. I am married and I have 5 children, 3 girls and 2 boys. And I'd like to share with you today some of the work that I do with the Prince's Trust and the reasons why I do it, specifically mentoring young people with the Prince's Trust Mosaic program. Next slide, please. So let's talk about Mosaic. So Mosaic is an initiative which was founded independently by His Royal Highness the Prince of Wales back in 2007, and it was to help young people from disadvantaged Muslim communities connect to relatable role models to help them improve their chances of fulfilling their potential. Now, since then, Mosaic has actually grown to help other isolated communities. Mosaic is now one of the programs which is offered by the Prince's Trust after it officially joined the Trust in April 2016. And what Mosaic does is it inspires young people from deprived communities to realize their talents and potential. Their mentoring programs are delivered in schools by volunteers, and they lift the aspirations of young people to help close that gap between aspirations and the achievement and attainment of those aspirations. And the primary beneficiaries for the Mosaic program are all the young people in schools. And just to reel off some statistics, over the last 10 years, over 40,000 young people were mentored by the program. Over 7,000 volunteers have mentored, and over 1,500 institutions have hosted Mosaic mentors. Mosaic works across the whole of the UK, and the mentors come from all backgrounds, and they have to act as relatable role models for young people. And with the help of volunteer mentors, Mosaic programs aim to bridge that aspirations and attainment gap. Next slide, please. So what do I do? So I've been involved with the Prince's Trust for over 5 years now, with their mentoring programs. Started off as a mentor, and then in 2016 I was asked to join their Northwest Regional Leadership Group, providing a little bit of oversight, guidance and steering. And these mentoring programs, they aim to improve young people's self-confidence, self-efficacy and employability. And the key here is that we link them to powerful and relatable role models who would volunteer their time to go and inspire young people over a very structured course of mentoring. And many of the young people who you would encounter and who you would sit with, they have very challenging and underprivileged circumstances. So when you sit with them, you're able to share with them your experiences professionally, academically, personally, and anecdotally. You can sit and share with them to say, you know what? It's okay to make mistakes as long as you make different ones to us. Sometimes you learn more from failure than you do success. As long as you continuously learn, the most important thing that you do is always do your best and strive to do better. Giving messages like these to young people is very important. And I remember growing up and being told that failure was not an option. And if you didn't get a grade A, then it wasn't good enough. That can have a negative impact. And we know when we are working in professional environments, this is certainly not the case. We fail just as much as we succeed. And it's all about how we pick ourselves up after failure and we keep on trying. That's why it's very important to give messages like this from your own personal experience and give that body of knowledge to young people. Next slide, please. So, what made me want to become an ally? Well, the first thing here is my faith inspires me. I'm a Muslim, and being charitable and helping others is one of our core beliefs, and it's very important to me. My maternal uncle, he played a central role in raising me, and we're a working class family who emigrated from Pakistan in the 1960s, and we settled in Manchester. My father was always working and he had very little time for us. He was working 7 days a week, 14 hours a day, and dad is coming on to 72 and he's still working 5 days a week. Now, that gap that I had, my uncle filled that with his selfless love. He taught us, he guided us, he was our coach, our leader, our mentor, and he was our friend. He's played a pivotal role in making me who I am today. And he's taught me always find the time to give and always find the opportunity to give, no matter how little and no matter how busy you are with your studies, with your work, or with your family. Give back to society. Give back more than was given to you. Give your time, give your effort, give your money, your capability, or your expertise. Ensure succeeding generations are better equipped to face the challenges of life. Help them achieve their dreams and help them achieve aspirations that perhaps we couldn't. Give to your children, give to your youngsters, give to your neighbors, your friends, and your colleagues, and give to your community. I believe that because I had a mentor growing up and I still have various mentors for different things in my life, I am more likely to want to give back to others because once upon a time, I was in their position, and why shouldn't I help them? The work that the Prince's Trust does strikes at the very heart of giving back and caring about our communities. Just to reel off a few more statistics regarding Muslims, Muslims experience the greatest economic disadvantage of any group in UK society. So UK Muslim women are more likely than all other women to be economically inactive. 18% of economically active women are recorded as looking after the home or the family compared to 6% in the overall population. And only 29% of Muslim women who are aged between 16 and 24 are employed compared to 49% of the general population. Muslim women are well documented as facing a double disadvantage due to gender and ethnicity. And often those coming from a low socioeconomic background will face a triple disadvantage. And reasons for this include discrimination, stereotyping, pressure from traditional families, a lack of tailored advice around higher education choices, and insufficient role models across education and employment. Next slide, please. So let me share with you some of my experiences of being an ally, the kind of things that I've tried to do and I've achieved with people working with us. So through my work with the Trust, I've invited them to meet the president of our business, which resulted in a partnership for a joint mentoring program. And what we did was we used the organization's platform to advertise and to recruit volunteers to engage in mentoring. I was also engaging with my business leadership at their leadership conference, sharing my experiences to inspire others to get involved. And in December last year, the organization that I used to work for, called Wood, they actually became a patron organization to the Prince's Trust. We invited them, and they've become a patron organization, and they've actually now committed to a 4-year strategic relationship with the Trust. And this has resulted in the organization donating £100,000 over 4 years, with the first 25,000, which is directed towards Greater Manchester. Furthermore, the organisation will support young people throughout the UK through the Mosaic and the Achieve educational programme that the Trust offers. Engaging with the local community helps you to develop a better understanding of them and helps you to develop a better relationship with them. So some of the things that I've done up until very, very recently, I was a parent governor at my local primary school, where I held the position of link governor for mathematics, or I've forged a relationship with a local girls' school to deliver mentoring programs for them as part of the Trust. We've collaborated with recognised organisations like the Royal Academy of Engineering, like WISE, like the Prince's Trust, and we've had schools come in collaborating with WISE and Prince's Trust, and we've had schools come into our organisation to have World of Work visits. And these are young people who come from a diverse background and underprivileged areas, but we bring them in to show them what's on offer for them. Having a diverse background makes me relatable and makes me well placed to remove cultural barriers and overcome negative stereotypes and promote equal opportunities. So Muslims are often portrayed negatively in the media, especially in their treatment of women. And I'm hoping that through platforms like this, together we can all tell a positive story. So whenever I'm engaging with young people or adults and this issue turns up, I tell people that in our faith, men and women are equal. And indulge me here for a moment while I give you a mathematical example. I tell them, well, 6 times 4 is 24, and 8 times 3 is also 24. Both of them are equal to each other, yet they are made up of different numbers. And so is the case with men and women in our faith. Women have been given an elevated status in our faith. It's taught to us that the best of us are those who are best to their women. And in our faith, God has honored women by giving them their value in relation to God, not in relation to men. So I will tell my 3 daughters to find their value in relation to God and not men, because frankly, men are not the standard to be compared to. These are the things that have become lost or corrupted in our faith, and it pains me when I see this. So I hope I can do my bit in correcting this, starting in my own household and then beyond. Next slide, please. So let's talk about some of the benefits, and I love this quote: you make a living out of what you get, but you make a life by what you give. By being involved, I have personally benefited from personal development, career development, strengthened relationships with colleagues, people, teamwork, and soft skills. I have an enriched sense of purpose in life, which positively impacts on my mental health and well-being. The work that we do is hugely rewarding, and it's great to see that you've had a positive impact on young people, no matter how little. And this point on mental health is very important, because mental health is that monster which doesn't discriminate. It doesn't care about race, gender, ethnicity. It's a monster that we're all facing. And just to share with you some of my own, my own personal experience. So I work in business development as a bid manager. So the work there is very intense. At home, I've been blessed with 5 children. When my youngest was born, my eldest was 6.5, so 5 and 6.5 years. That's very intense. But voluntary work energizes me. It's good for my mental health. And one of your 5 a day for mental well-being is to give to others. The reason why is because it creates positive feelings and a sense of reward. It gives you a feeling of purpose and self-worth, and it strengthens your self-esteem, and it helps you connect with other people. So doing these things are good for everybody. Next slide, please. Organizational benefits. Well, by doing the work that we do, fostering employee engagement, satisfaction, and retention. So our partnership for a joint mentoring program essentially offered meaningful and skills-based opportunities for our employees and to volunteer and engage with their local communities. And as a result, we're increasingly attractive to younger job hunters to say, well, you know what, we want to work for an organization like that. Mentoring is a critical component of professional development, and it's often cited as being the best form of skills-based volunteering that companies can offer to their employees. We're helping the business to cultivate and develop its future workforce. So it's important to mentor to develop the next generation of employees, because they're the future workforce, and engaging young people through mentoring, it expands their horizons. It increases their understanding of local employment opportunities. You give future employees a glimpse into your industry, a local employer showcasing, the sheer range of opportunities that are often available under one roof and, on their doorstep. And you support your longer term goals of developing a more diverse workforce and boosting that talent pool, because frankly, that diversity will inspire creativity. It will drive productivity and innovation. You get to support vibrant local communities and potential customers. Mentoring is a great way to support your communities and contribute, which results in a positive social impact. This raises your profile in the community, and when you collaborate with national and international organizations, then it raises your profile nationally and internationally. We personally have benefited from brand association, through working with Mosaic and the Prince's Trust. We're recognized with, we're collaborating with recognized organizations. We get to achieve our business and our customer social impact targets. So our achievements are showcased to our customers to demonstrate our commitment to diversity and inclusion. And in fact, it's got to the point in our business where we're actually proposing ways in which we would work with the customers and the Prince's Trust, to contribute to their socio-economic plans. So it's a win-win, win-win, win-win scenario. And yes, I said that 6 times, and you can't get better than that. The reason why I said it 6 times is because individuals win, your organization that you work for, they win, your customers will win, the organizations that you partner with, they will win, young people will win, and the communities in which you work, they would win. Why would you want to turn down such a deal? Next slide, please. So this is my call to action, and these are some tips, for people who were thinking of becoming allies. So the first thing is, put your hand up and don't be afraid to ask questions. It takes courage. Courage is a leadership behavior, but ask questions and you will get your answers. You will find people who will collaborate with you, who will work with you. You need to engage with your diversity and inclusion and business leadership groups within your organization. So for example, I've joined the WISE committee at work, so I'm pretty much on the front line trying to strengthen the campaign, so I can, be an ally. You need to partner with organizations and join forces with other organizations in your industries, and partner with organizations, as I said, like WISE, Prince's Trust, and the Royal Academy of Engineering. The thing here is that, collaboration runs through my DNA as a business development manager, and the thing here is that no one organization is going to have the answer, and no one person is going to have the answer, and you have to leverage each other's resources to help strengthen the campaign and make a value-added contribution. And everybody wins when we do it that way. This final tip is a reminder to me first, because sometimes you'll come across well-intentioned people who say things like, you know what, that's a great idea and we should do it, but then they actually don't know how to bring it to life, and the reason for that is because it requires people who've had that lived experience, and you also require a genuine commitment to do something about it. So the question then is, how do we want to respond to people like that? Either we can turn around and be upset and say, you know what, you should know better and you should just get on with it. Or it's a case you can turn around and say, do you know what, I'm going to try and help you here. I'm going to try and expose you to perhaps a different way of thinking, or did you consider this, or have you considered that? So we have a responsibility to bring people along with us in that journey. So, I've got a simple call to action. If you're already involved, then stay involved and get others involved too. And if you're not involved, then please get involved. And next slide, please. So International Women's Day was over the weekend, Sunday, and I came across this and I thought I'm going to share this with the listeners on Wednesday. And it's something which is close to my heart because it stems from its Islamic origins. The sun in our language, in the Arabic language, is ash-shams, which is feminine in nature. And the moon is qamar, which is masculine in nature. And the sun burns itself to give life and light to everything. Whereas the moon, well, the moon just reflects the light. Within itself, it's got no light. It just radiates the brilliance of the sun. So when we shine as men, we're just reflecting the glorious light of our women. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Zeb. So we've had lots of questions. Thank you to all the attendees who have submitted questions. And if you haven't submitted your question yet, still can on the right-hand side in the questions box. So I'll start by asking the first question that came in, which was, have you ever had to deal with backlash from male colleagues who think that gender diversity is just about favouring women?
Yes, you do come across people who are not for the campaign, who don't understand the campaign, and it's a case of sitting and explaining to them to say, it's about gender parity and gender equality and holistic justice, and we are not we're not about positive discrimination here. Everyone gets recruited and promoted based on their merit. But it's a case of, if there's a lack in some areas, then you need to turn around and address the issue. And you hear horrible stories where a lady has to work, twice as hard, as a man in that position, but still is getting paid, less. Or a woman has to work twice as hard in order to achieve a promotion. And you think, well, that's not right. That's just an injustice. And holistic justice is a leadership quality, and we need to be for these things and promote these things. So yeah, you do come across people who misunderstand, and it's a case of sitting with them to try to explain to them what we're trying to do and why we're trying to do it.
Thanks very much. We've had quite a few questions about mentoring, so I'll try and put all the points that we've had about mentoring into one question. And so people want to know about training, the time commitments, and the focus of the mentoring. So if you just want to explain a little bit more about those aspects of mentoring.
Okay, so in terms of the mentoring that I do with the Prince's Trust, they've already got a structured program. So they would engage in secondary school program mentoring. They would engage in enterprise challenge mentoring and then world of work visits. And the trust itself has got resources. So they've got a number of things and activities that you could undertake. It essentially starts with I think it's 6 structured sessions. So it's one session every 3 or 4 weeks. And then you would end with a world of work visit. And typically you would have a group of, say, 6 or 7 mentors that have been trained up by the trust, and it only probably takes 3 hours to get trained up with the trust. And then you'd be connected with the school. So the trust has its connections with schools up and down the country, and they will just call up the school and say, right, you've signed up to the program. We're going to start in September. These are your 6 mentors. You'd have an initial session with the teacher, and then off you go, and you would work with your team of mentors, and 6 mentors would have, say, typically a class of 30 young people, and you would be in a group of 5, and you would talk to those 5 people, for an hour each time over a period of 6 or 7 sessions. But all the training and resources and everything is provided by the trust. Does that answer
Great.
the question?
Yeah, thank you very much. Another question that we've had was, what are some small things that people can do day to day to make a change in the workplace as a male ally?
Um, you have to actively make an effort. There's unconscious bias, and you have to actively try to change the little things that you do. And I'm not perfect in this. I'm learning every day. In the words that you choose, the way in which you address people, and you actually have that inclusive culture and that inclusive outlook and behavior. And if somebody was to get offended at what you say, and if they were to pull you up on it, that's absolutely fine, because we're learning, we're trying to do the right thing. So it's a case of trying. And in terms of small tips, you would have your diversity and inclusion networks within your organizations. Connect with them, have a chat with them, have a coffee with them. You don't have to turn around and join the group, but it's a case of you can sign up and see what they're all about and try to understand it, because we all have a duty and a responsibility to do the right thing.
Thank you. And then we had a couple of questions about outcomes and impact. So one of those was, which program has had the most impact in your organisation in regards to supporting women? And another was, are there any statistics about the impact?
So I haven't got statistics on impact from the trust, but in terms of impact, let me give you an example of a young lad that was mentored with the Prince's Trust programs, and he's a refugee from Afghanistan. His family escaped war in Afghanistan, and they've settled here in the UK. And he was mentored as part of the Prince's Trust program. And then an opportunity arose where a young person was invited to interview the London Mayor, Sadiq Khan. And because he was part of the mentoring program, he was selected, and he put on a fantastic show, interviewing and hosting the London Mayor on stage. And as a treat for him, he was chosen to do the coin toss at the Wimbledon final. Was it last year? I think it was last year with Djokovic and Federer, I think it was. But he came out with his Princess Trust t-shirt, and he tossed a coin to say who would serve first. And as a result of that, he's been empowered, his family have been empowered, and all of his friends around him have been empowered, just because of these little things, that we can unlock and help, unlock the potential. So these are the kind of impacts that we can have on people, and it boosts them.
Wonderful, thank you very much. So we'll just do one final question, which was, what is the biggest challenge you have experienced? I think that means in relation to being a male ally.
Personally, the biggest challenge that I'm coming across is cultural barriers. Cultural barriers in terms of, so my family emigrated from Pakistan and they had the Asian culture, and in the Asian culture it's a case of the woman is suppressed, whereas I'm born, raised, and still live in Manchester, and for me this is home, and I got to take the best of my culture, but also the best of the British culture, and fuse the two together. So sometimes coming up against challenges within your own family, they are difficult. But the old generation is coming around and seeing the value of what we're doing. So yeah, there's some of the challenges personally that I've come across that are the biggest for me.
Thank you very much. So for time, we'll have to stop there. But thank you everyone who's posted questions and participated. This session has been recorded and will be saved in the WISE member resource area, and a link to it will be